Welcome, guys, to It's Your Season with your hosts, Kim C. Bratten
and Elvin F. Bratten Jr.
We have today an awesome young lady that does some serious dolls. Her name is Angela Huggins from Angels, Hugs, Gifts, and Dolls. Angela, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Kim and Elvin. Well, thank you for having me on your show, first of all, and congratulations. This is a wonderful opportunity. What I do is I make cloth dolls, and I use all mediums. I can use any type of fabric, any type of hair, any type of paint, things I find around the house, and I just enjoy doing dolls. I enjoy doing dolls. I'm a mother. I'm a nurse. I'm a grandmother. So art is art, and I'm an artist in all. Time. You know what? When I create dolls, I have to wait for everyone to go to bed because I create in my kitchen. So when everyone goes to bed, I pull out my sewing machine, I pull out all of my props, and I sit at the table and sew.
That is great.
So I have to pretty much be by myself.
That is great.
So Angela,
Yes.
while you're doing these dolls that you have, do you find it gives you that type of savoir-faire when you do these dolls?
Well, by that, if you mean, does it give me peace?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's something, it's like going into a zone when you're creating dolls. You just think about the colors. You think about the fabrics. You think about the mediums that you work with. I work with clay. You have to sit and concentrate and meditate. At least I do.
Right.
Sit and concentrate and meditate on how I'm going to put this together. And it's a thought process. Or I may just sit and stare out the window for a little while. Or I may put on music and just think. Or I may sit and journal. But it's an absolute process where the beginning starts like this and the end is the product, which is the doll. And it's a journey. It's an incredible journey.
Now, what's your routine like in the morning being a mother? Because I'm a mother of 6. I know routines in the morning sometimes work and sometimes they don't work.
I know. Every household has routine in the morning. You know what our routine is, really? We get up in the morning and we're quiet. There's no television. We're focused. There's no... it's a silent communication between all of us. It's me, my husband, my daughter, my son, my grandson, and everyone knows who goes in the bathroom first. Clothes are on, and the real talking begins with the prayer before we leave home. So we all gather in a circle prayer. We hug. We wish each other have a good day, and then we're off. And then our day begins like that. We all meet back home at the end of the evening. We have dinner. We do our things. Some are on the computer. Some is watching TV. And then it seems like what we do is we go into a zone of a personal time. So I may go into the kitchen and create. My husband will sit and watch TV. My daughter's in her room on the computer. My son's in his room on a video game. And my grandson is running between all of us. When I'm in the kitchen creating, this is why I usually wait for everybody to go to bed. He wants to help me paint. He wants to help me cut. And he wants to help me do a whole bunch of things. So, and I let them. You have to create a creative atmosphere. There's nothing stifling or holding back. If he feels like he can paint on a little piece of fabric, then let him do his little thing, because that might be an inspiration for me to create another doll.
And you never know.
Absolutely.
You never know.
Absolutely.
Honey, can you do that?
And I was thinking about what you said. Family is very important, especially when you are creative and you're artistic. I realized that when my wife is doing her thing and have her prayer time, it's very important that everyone has their own private time to themselves, because things can get hectic. I also realized that you have a lot of people that see what you do. They are like play haters, they always want to, they tell you what you can or cannot do, because they're jealous because they didn't follow their dream.
Right.
So, what do you think about when you come against people like that? Is that hard when you come against people like that?
Someone taught me a very valuable lesson. When you come from an artist's perspective in creating. That's your own personal thing. But when you're out in the world presenting your product for sale, then you're open to every kind of entity. And when I come against people who are like that, I smile. I'll tell you the honest to God truth. I smile. You have to, because you will be so disturbed because they're not on a creative level as you, or they don't have a creative spirit such as yourself. Because if you had a creative spirit, you would know that when you see the next artist, you would encourage them. You wouldn't tear them down. But there are people that do that just to see, you know, what you're made of. And if you're coming from a spiritual, creative side, you're a little bit tougher than what they think.
And a lot of times they say, well, I can do that. I can make that doll. Do you get a lot of that? I can do that, girl. I can make that doll.
That drives me crazy when someone will walk up to my product and go, I can make that. I want to say so bad, go ahead. But I don't. I go, well, tell me, how would you? Or I teach a class. Or can you teach me? You know, so if you can do this, then show me what you do, because everyone does something different. It's like a snowflake effect. What I do and how I present and how I work can never be created, even if I was cloned. So I can teach you how to make a doll, but you will never make a doll like the way I do. It will be your own thing.
And what I say all the time is, what God gave for you is for you.
Absolutely.
And you may do similar of what I do.
That's right.
But what's for me is for me, and what's for you is for you.
That's right.
Honey, can you do the honors and show, let them know what Angela does and show some of the footage?
Yes, we would like to show your footage of what you do at home. Angela, can you explain to us right here, what are you doing at this present moment?
Well, what I'm doing is the way I start out after I gather up myself and gather up the ideas. I'm tracing the pattern, and the way I start is I'll trace a pattern out onto sketch paper. And then to create the pattern to go onto the fabric, I'm using freezer paper. So now I trace my pattern onto freezer paper and I cut it out. And the reason why I use freezer paper is because when I iron it onto the fabric, it sticks.
Oh, that's nice.
And I don't need to use a whole bunch of pins. I could save pins for something later. Right here, we're looking at one of my creations.
Oh, my.
Love it.
Oh, my.
And the story behind that, real fast, was I was in New Hampshire for about 5 days, and I missed my husband, so I created that. This particular doll, I'm teaching in October how to create this doll. So if you're a basic beginning sewer, you can create this doll. I can teach you. And the face is made of clay and synthetic hair and nails and just a whole bunch of embellishments, which is a lot of fun, which is the most fun part of the doll, is embellishing her.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
That's fantastic. That's very fantastic. Well, honey, can you...
First of all, I'm flabbergasted because that art form is lost. I mean, you were so blessed to have gifts to be able to do things like that.
Right. You know, the art form is traditionally when people hear about dolls, they think about cute little playthings in dresses.
Yes.
But what myself and a lot of doll artists and cloth doll artists are doing is just that. We're trying to establish the name as an artist, not just as someone who makes a cute doll, and not taking anything away from Raggedy Ann and Andy, and not taking anything away from the Cabbage Patch doll, which, to everything there's a season.
Yes.
But the art form of the doll is a little bit more expressive. So you may have clothing like that, and you may have a doll with nails, and they're not necessarily playthings, but more or less for display or for to bring out artistic being in myself. So if I want to create a cute little doll that a baby can play with, that's one thing, that's fine. But if I want to create something for an adult to admire, or to something to stand in your home as a decoration in place of a statue or in place of a vase, that's where the artistic part comes in.
Now let me ask you something. Do you have themes for your dolls?
Yes, I do. I have themes. The dolls that you viewed are more or less my fashion doll line. So I'll do fashion dolls. I'll do baby dolls. I work in obstetrics department. I'll create baby dolls and let, when little children come in, parents, their mom is pregnant and they'll have a little baby, and this is what it's going to be like to hold your little brother or sister. I create dolls of people. So if you have a little boy or a little girl, you want me to replicate them, I'll do that with their little favorite outfit. I do traditional clothing, any ethnic background in clothing.
Do you also do religious dolls like
Absolutely, absolutely. One of my signature dolls is the prayer angel.
Oh, wonderful.
And the inspiration behind that is my mother said, we used to go to church and we used to write little prayers on slips of paper, and I told my mother, I'm going to create something for you to hold those little slips of paper. And that's how the prayer angel came apart. And you put the prayers in her pockets on her dress, and when the prayer is answered, you take it out and you replace it with another one. So I made that doll in honor of my mom.
Oh, that's so great. Honey, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, where did you find the inspiration where do you have to find the inspiration to dream huge? Where do you find the inspiration to dream huge in this type of business?
Well, I've been making dolls for so long, and I always kind of lived in a little fantasy world. I loved fairy tales. I loved poems. I read so many books, and it took me to a different world. So you can, in art, you can always express yourself. Mm-hmm. So if I want to create because I'm feeling sad, then I could create something and let all of that energy out. It's just about energy. Where I find the inspiration to keep going is I think as long as you're alive, you have to be inspired to do something. Even if it's just wake up, eat, work, and go back to sleep. You're still inspired to do something. You have to be inspired to live.
That reminds me of when back in the 80s, graffiti, when you happened to tag on trains. I hope nobody out there watching at the present time. But when I used to tag on trains, it used to give me inspiration to write certain things. And I understand that when you're inspired to do something, it's something that gives you a sense of pride and hope.
Absolutely.
And I understand what you're talking about there, because I feel the same way when I create things. What do you think destroy big dreams for having successful business, and why?
What destroys dreams? I think when you stop dreaming. When you wake up and you go, I have to get back to reality. Well, what is reality? And this world is kind of cold and this world is kind of cruel. So if you are gifted, and everyone has a gift. It doesn't necessarily mean doll making or tagging trains, but everyone has a gift. And when you give up on your gift, when you stop working your gift and stop using your gift, then that destroys a dream. I mean, people can talk. Talk is cheap. You can tell me, oh, your dolls are no good. Oh, what you do is horrible. Oh, but if it's within me, and you have to believe in yourself. If you dream. Don't let anybody stop you from dreaming. You can't come in my world when I'm dreaming. I can only invite you in. So therefore, that's a whole different thing. I'm not inviting the negativity in. I'm not inviting the destroyers in. It's my dream. It's personal, and I keep it personal. I share it with others. Your opinion is your opinion.
That's right.
But it's still my dream.
And a lot of times procrastination is a big dream killer. Oh, I'm going to do, and as you're sitting and doing, you're getting older and watching the people go on with your idea while you're sitting in a rocking chair saying, I wish I could. And that person's like, I did it, and it's already done. Right. So I think procrastination too, don't you think?
I think procrastination, plays a big part of it. But again, it's all according to what you let influence you, because someone can influence you to procrastinate. They can give you a whole bunch of things. So, okay, so let's say I select a job where I now have to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. That kind of like cut into your dream. So you don't put yourself in those predicaments. You create the value in yourself, and you set the time aside for yourself to fulfill your dreams, because no one is going to fulfill them for you.
And I just want to ask you something quick. Do you find it frustrating when people try to talk your price down, and you know your value and worth? Do you find that frustrating, girl? Because I need to hear about that. I know a lot of people try to talk the price down.
Well, you know what? You know what happens with what I do is such